Hi Dan, hi James. I'm Lucy and I'm reporting for Film Club. It's great to meet you both. Thanks very much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having us, absolutely.
Daniel, you must have been offered lots of parts after Potter finished. Why did you decide to take on The Woman in Black?
There were a couple of other things that we were looking at around that time, but when The Woman in Black script came in, you know, it was so far ahead of everything else I'd read in terms of most remarkably, in terms of how ready it felt to be filmed. Like the other scripts we were looking at were good, but still needed lots of work and things to be done and changed. And this was like, well, we can film this tomorrow if we need to. You know, it was so complete, and it was the fact that it was a horror film, but that felt unusual for the genre in that it was. You know, it's very strong thematically, dealing with loss and grief and what happens to us if we fail to move on from a loss. So that the script, coupled with then meeting James and seeing that we, you know, shared a vision for the film was all I needed to say yes.
The Woman in Black is an adaptation from a book and a stage play. What were the biggest challenges bringing the story to the big screen for both of you?
I mean, the first thing was getting the script right. Unfortunately, we had Jane Goldman, who wrote a brilliant script, something that we could all respond to. We're very much based on the novella, Susan Hill's novella, rather than on the play. And the play is obviously a very theatrical thing, and the book is obviously a book, and what we've made is a film. And so you want that to be film-shaped rather than book-shaped, and that's what Jane did incredibly well. She took, I think, the core of the novel and was very true to it. Particularly what I think appealed to me, and I think probably to Dan, was the way she fleshed out the character of Arthur Kipps.
Yeah.
And made slight shifts and recalibrations in his setup, such that he'd already lost his wife. And that gave him this really sort of, you know, poignant starting point and enabled him to have a journey through which you could pursue throughout the film. So there's a proper emotional journey, which I think is what...
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of the things that made it feel unusual was that it was such a character-driven film. I mean, you know, the characters don't feel, as James said in another interview the other day, about, you know, a lot of times in horror films, characters feel like fodder. They're just there so they can get killed. And, you know, James realises that there is no value in having a character in fear of his life unless the audience actually care about that character. It's not effective if they don't care whether I live or die or not. So yeah, absolutely. You know, the fact that the characters and the relationships all felt so real and so layered with you know, complexities in their relationships. You know, the fact that, you know, just there's every moment in this film there is a chance to ask an interesting question.
Daniel, was it hard to adapt to acting in both a completely different genre of film and a movie that's set in the Victorian era?
Not particularly. I mean, you don't really, when you start approaching a part, I can only speak for myself, obviously, but I don't approach it in terms of the genre of the film or in terms of the era that it's set in. It's, you take him as a human being and find out what makes him tick and what are the major issues of this person's life, what has formed this character. And if you look at Arthur, you know, he is somebody who, as I said, has lost his wife, has become completely detached from the world and is really nothing more than an observer of his own life. He's not involved in it. And so, you know, and I spoke to a couple of friends about depression that they had been through, and one of the things they said was just how physically exhausting it is, how tired you are all the time. It is an effort to get out of bed in the morning. So that's kind of where I started with Arthur, was that from the first moment you see him, he is somebody at the end of his tether, both physically and emotionally, and his journey through the film is one of a man discovering that the love that he has lost in his wife is less important now than the love he has yet to give to his son. And so he realises that he has something to live for, and so he fights for his life.
Have you ever seen the play or read the book?
I read the book immediately after I read the script because I knew I'd be meeting James and talking to him about it. I've never seen the play. I didn't see the play because I know that I am a mimic, that I would subconsciously possibly take elements of the performances that I'd seen in there and, you know, regurgitate it, and I'd like to come from my own place.
Did you still have to audition for the part of Arthur Kipps? And James, what were you looking for?
I mean, in this film, for this film, no, it wasn't an audition process.
It's not really an audition. What you do is basically you meet. I mean, Dan, you know, we have this meeting. We met in LA, and you chat, and you know, effectively, you know, you're sort of sounding each other out.
Yeah.
You know, and he's looking at me thinking, can he do it? And I'm looking at him thinking, can he do it?
Yeah, exactly,
"Oh,
totally,
and
absolutely.
And that's how it always works with an actor and
Yeah.
a lead actor and a director. And you're constant, and unfortunately, very quickly, we saw we were totally aligned on pretty much everything, absolutely, and how we saw the film.
Yeah.
In fact, how we saw the film, how we saw the character, how we wanted to approach it, what we wanted it to be, and that that makes probably both of our jobs a hell of a lot easier.
The next job I'm doing, though, I did audition for and got it.
Yeah.
Daniel, was it strange being on a set without your Potter family around you? And did you find it difficult to forget about Harry in your new role?
Not at all, because the thing is, I've actually played a couple of other characters already. I mean, not things that people would necessarily have all seen. I mean, I did a stage play called Equus, which was hugely influential for me. I played Jack Kipling in a TV film called My Boy Jack, so it didn't feel unnatural or particularly alien to be playing another character. The only time actually that I really did miss Rupert and Emma during the course of this whole process was the other day before the London premiere. It was very strange getting ready in the hotel, knowing that they weren't also getting ready in there somewhere. It was more the premiere was the weirdest time, because actually a lot of the crew from Potter, it's very hard. If you work on Potter, you will never do another British film where you don't know anyone. So I walked onto set the first day, and the guy who had handed me my glasses for the last 10 years was working props on this film as well, and so that I did know, like, at least sort of, maybe a quarter of the crew I was kind of familiar with, so that made it less like a kind of first day of school.